Hey, welcome. Grab a seat. Come on in. Welcome to the first edition of the weekly weather walkthrough, where I'm going to walk you through day by day, and we're going to track storm systems across the United States, the weather pattern, temperatures, precipitation, snowfall, and much more. We got a couple of big storm systems in store this week from the 9th through about the 16th. Now, before we begin, click the subscribe button below if you want daily forecast updates, much more detailed and in-depth and entertaining than you would see on TV. And also, comment below if you like this idea, if you have any ideas for these weekly weather walkthroughs. I'm thinking about doing these live in the future here and turning into these maybe an hour long here. So what we're going to do first here is look at the thickness and precipitation and pressure gradients across the United States. This is going to give us a good general look at our storm pattern and weather pattern across the United States. Okay, we're going to start off on Monday here and then track it into the rest of the week. I'm also going to look at temperatures and the jet stream as well. But first and foremost, here's your key down here. Your rain's going to be in the greens, snow's going to be the blues, and freezing rain, sleet is going to be your reds and pinks. Now, obviously, right now, we got a storm system in the United States in the northern U.S. A high pressure system out here in the northern plains is really starting to build and grow. All that's going to start spilling from Canada, and it is about to get cold really quick. From now until about Tuesday into Wednesday across the northern United States, a ridge is building into the east, and that's why you get these thickness lines. So your higher thickness lines indicate warmer temperatures all throughout the atmosphere, and you can see those are going to start building into the west coast. So it's going to start warming up for parts of the southwestern United States here. Pretty warm out ahead of this system in the southeastern United States. Here's your low pressure system, your cold front, and there's going to be a nice punch of warm air out ahead of it and deliver decent rains across the northeastern United States. But all along, as we go towards Tuesday here, okay, this is going to be Tuesday morning, obviously, not too far here. I've never said that this storm system is going to be overly strong. It just, the upper level dynamics are too broad, too flat, and you're just not going to get a strong snowstorm with this, but it's definitely be large and widespread. So there's going to be a lot of precipitation. That's going to sweep through around Tuesday. This is 1 a.m. There's going to be another storm system that develops Tuesday in the south central United States towards Texas and New Mexico. That's going to track up and reinforce this front here on Tuesday. Here's your low pressure system, your front. There's going to be another piece of energy that lights up this cold front like a fuse, and you're going to get another wave of precipitation through the day on Tuesday. Meanwhile, high pressure continues to build. It's actually all the way up here in Canada. It's just going to keep pouring and dumping and unleashing cold air into the north central part of the United States. That's going to actually cut off the snow potential pretty quick for the Midwestern region. That's why it's not going to be as strong either. Warm air is starting to really kick in over here in the southwestern United States. Kind of a high out here in the Rockies with probably some decent snowpack there. So here comes the high. This is Tuesday at 1 p.m. and you can see that redevelopment here along the front, that temperature gradient. You can see that temperature gradient. You got the thickness lines quickly dropping off, and you can see right on the northern side here, kind of in the middle of the temperature gradient, you get a rain to snow little line here. And so some light batches of snow on the backside of that rain. It's going to rain first, and then maybe a little quick period, a 1 to 3 hour period of snow in the mid-Atlantic region, maybe all the way down as far south as Tennessee, up through the northeastern United States. Now, in terms of amounts, 1 to 3 inches at best with that type of look. There's going to be some isolated banding here, where you get some isolated heavier showers that move into cold air. And you could get some isolated higher amounts, especially in the Appalachian Mountains. Meanwhile, this high pressure is moving in. A little wave comes in on Tuesday around 7 p.m. into the northwestern United States. A little low pressure system now. Nothing crazy with that, just a little bit of rain. Okay, you're mostly dealing with ridging out there. Now, as we head towards Wednesday, this is around Wednesday at 7 p.m., this high pressure system starts to move to the east coast. It's around Wisconsin right now. So your coldest air is going to kind of be right in the Midwest here. As you can see, your thickness line's very cold in there. And then obviously your north winds, your winds are going to kind of follow these isobars a little bit. And you can see the north winds are now into the east coast. And the high pressure is moving in. That's going to dry things out, okay? There's going to be sinking in the atmosphere around these high pressure systems from top to bottom. So, what that's going to do is you're not going to get as much lift, and you're not going to get precipitation with that type of setup here. Now, on the back side, there could be a little bit of a clipper or a little bit of disturbance out here in Montana, but really, this type of look does not signify any type of serious snow event for that region. There could be a little bit of a lake effect snow along and behind this high as this moves into the lakes here around Wednesday into Thursday, but nothing serious with that. Now, overnight on Wednesday, we have to take a look at the Gulf here as a low pressure system is developing here in the Gulf, a little coastal low. It's off a weak wave in the upper level, so I don't think it's going to be an extreme nor'east or anything like that, but this low and the development behind it we're going to have to watch, because that could turn into a big snowstorm for the East Coast. Now, watch what happens here as we head towards Thursday. We get a potential ice storm. This is something I've been talking about. So this is Thursday at 1 p.m. You can see a little low, a little tiny clipper out in the plains. That'll bring some snow for the Dakotas, Minnesota area. Meanwhile, out here in the western U.S., another wave comes on shore, brings on a mixture of rain and snow, particularly in the upper elevations. Very dry and warm in the southwestern United States. But over here in the west coast, or the East Coast, there is a potential for an ice storm as this little wave comes up. This first wave is going to be rather weak, but because it's very near the warm waters and slow moving, there could be a decent amount of precipitation with this thing. And the potential is there for some mixed precipitation. It's been kind of flipping back and forth between this kind of look and the snow being all the way up in Canada. So there's a lot of uncertainty with this particular storm. That first storm that comes through Tuesday, I think that's set in stone. This one will jump around a lot more with how the waves look in the upper levels. But got some very warm waters here off the coast, much higher than normal. And anytime we get a low approaching the coast here and going off water, definitely have to watch that, because the waters are warmer than usual. We could have some pretty good precipitation bombs out in the East Coast this winter when we do get that. I think most of the tracks are going to be a little bit farther to the north this winter, but when we do get it, could have a big snowstorm, and that's why in my winter forecast I do have that area under a kind of a slightly above average precipitation shield. But you can see as we head towards Friday morning, there's lots of ice and sleet and freezing rain in the Carolinas, Virginia, all the way up to about Pennsylvania as we head towards Friday morning. This low kind of dies out, loses energy as it moves to the east. Then we get a redeveloping low. This one's going to be the one to really watch as we head towards Friday night into Saturday morning, right off the coast, okay, near Florida and Georgia and South Carolina. Now, that's going to deliver lots of precipitation for the southeastern United States with these two waves. Meanwhile, on Friday night, this wave out west moves in, delivers snow for Wyoming and Montana. Probably nothing crazy until we get into the day on Saturday, where the main wave will move in and this low pressure system right here and deliver the Rockies a pretty decent batch of snow for the skiers towards the weekend here. So good weekend to go skiing. Now, as this low moves up, you can see it's moving kind of south to north, and with that and with really there's a low up here. The high is way too far off to the north at the moment for this storm down here in the northeast to produce snow. The cold air is just not quite there yet, and so it's going to be a little bit delayed. And as you can see as we head towards Saturday night here at 7 p.m., this high does move into the area. There's a high also out here, so this is actually getting closer to that high. High pressure is really building up there just off coast, and that's going to allow more ice on the northeast side of the low, just near and north of the warm front. So that's going to be something to watch. Really, the entire East Coast is under the gun for a mixed bag of fun as we head towards the weekend. Not everyone's going to get it. There's going to be a lot of changes between now and then. The models are wildly inconsistent, and the upper levels are very hard to track at the moment, but it's definitely something to watch. You can see that 540 line here, freezing kind of area, is all the way out here still. But it does, just near and north of that warm front, it does change to rain and or it goes to sleet pretty quick and ice. This is freezing rain along this area up in Maine. The Maine snow is going to be a lot farther to the north as well. But like I said, this pattern supports potential ice storm when you have a lot of just leftover cold air kind of sitting out in the east half of the United States, and you get a big plume of warm air advection and moisture that comes up. You definitely can get some ice with these types of systems. As we head towards Sunday morning, finally you get enough cold air to get some snow in, but this is going to be mostly for the southeastern parts of Canada and maybe parts of Maine as well. Meanwhile, this high out here, typically you'd like to see it much farther east if you want a big snowstorm in the east, but nonetheless, the high does move in. There's another wave. That wave that comes into the west coast does make it into the plains, but it's, with these types of systems, I don't expect a powerful snowstorm. Very progressive, fast-moving east to west type of thing, and but maybe a couple of inches of snow in the plains here as we head towards Saturday night. But behind that high pressure does build in, and Sunday into Monday, this high does move in, and you get a nice, very cold batch of air down here. Pretty windy and cold, very tight temperature gradient, so we could be dealing with another Arctic blast as we head into early next week. So we'll have to watch that. High pressure sets in, so it's going to be cold now for the west as well after that wave. And maybe some rain-snow mix here in the northeastern and Ohio Valley regions of the U.S. So that is going to wrap up the precipitation. Now we'll look at temperatures real quick, and we'll look at the fronts that move in here. So we're going to start now on Monday here, and you can see that first wave that moves in, that first big storm in the Midwestern region. Here's your low pressure system. Your front is going to kind of be right there. Very powerful cold front, very cold air behind it, talking temperatures single digits and much below that, even sub-zero in the Dakotas here on Monday morning here, and very cold out west as well. Nice warm air, warm advection out ahead of this thing. Could deliver 50s and 60s for some areas in the southeastern United States, and much warmer than that the farther south you go. So Monday night, this thing moves to the east. Then at Tuesday at 1 p.m., but at Tuesday at 7 p.m., you can see highs on Tuesday really not warm at all in the northern plains. Might not even get to 0 degrees in parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota. So if you turn on this thing, see if I turn that on real quick. There's a cursor readout, and you can see a -4, -2. Whoops, wrong day. We'll go back, and then on Wednesday here. But yeah, 15 below. So very cold air here for Tuesday into Wednesday. And then obviously Wednesday that moves to the east. Wednesday around 1 p.m., you can see a return of some warmer air in the plains here ahead of that low. When you just out ahead of these lows, you'll get a return of warmer air, and just to the west of highs, you'll get a return, okay, because your highs will circulate like this, and that will increase. But, the moisture is still cut off. The barbs are still pointing north to south in the Gulf. Any moisture you get would be out of like Baja or something. So very cold still in the northern U.S. Starts to warm up again in the southern U.S., particularly near Texas and the plains. And then as we head towards Thursday at 1 p.m., still pretty cold in the northern U.S. and the northeastern United States as well. 20s and 30s. Starts to warm up a little bit, not a ton, but 30s through about 60s in the southern U.S. And then Rockies, obviously very cold. Going to be a lot of fresh snowpack out there, especially in the northwestern United States, so it might stay cold in the upper elevations. California, pretty cool, a little bit warmer in the southern part where that ridging will occur. And then Friday at 1 p.m., pretty warm in the Arizona, Southern California area. And then obviously your high is going to start building up here, and you're going to get an Arctic blast again as you head towards Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Here's that low out here. You can see it's very warm out ahead of it. Behind it, it's not all that cold. Usually with low pressure systems, you're going to get a nice cold front behind it. But this one is more of an ice threat. more of a zonal type of temperature gradient, and your highs all the way out here. So you're not going to get a terribly cold air behind this thing unless you're all the way up in Canada near these highs. Now, that's where your best bet for snowstorm is going to be occurring as well. As you head towards Sunday here, you can see this cold air mass, this blob, is starting to make its way into the northern United States. These things have been struggling to get past about the I-80 corridor. So that's kind of what I've been forecasting this winter. Your coldest air mass is going to kind of be up in this region, and as you see with this type of pattern. But you can see finally on Sunday around 1 p.m., this air mass does make its way pretty far south. This front will drag pretty far south here. Nice, decent cold front. Very warm in Texas. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s down there. And finally, this front, I think, as you head towards the weekend, is going to cool off the entire country north of about Texas and the Gulf coastal states, essentially. As we head towards Sunday night into, we'll just go through Monday here. You can see that front. This is Monday morning. Okay, that front makes it all the way to the Gulf, and it's still pretty strong. Got very strong isobars and strong wind barbs and a tightly packed pressure gradient, so that will make its way into the Gulf. You know, the only areas maybe getting sparred are maybe Florida and so it's very cold all across the United States as we head towards early next week, so that's something we're going to have to watch. We'll have to look at temperature anomalies for that time period because we'll go out, it should be much below average. As you can see here, just Tuesday and Wednesday, 30 to 40 degrees below average in the northern plains. But as we head towards the weekend here, there's that front that moves through, so not terribly below average, but it is definitely a cool-off for much of the country. And suspect you'll see a little bit more cooler air in the plains as well. But nonetheless, it does cool off a little bit in the west. That front kind of dies out as it gets to the Gulf, but still maintains its strength. So finally, the southern U.S., a little bit of below-average temperatures as we head towards, Monday or so. All right, now what we'll do is we'll look at the precipitation here, the snowfall amounts, and as we head towards Monday here, it's really not going to be anything crazy with this first system, but a good 3 to 6 inches or so in the core of the storm, and the best area is going to be in southern Canada where 3 to 6 or more could fall. And then we'll just fast forward this all the way out into Monday here, and you get a second little clipper that moves through, a little disturbance that moves through the plains, 2 to 6 inches in some areas. With all those waves moving into the west coast, there's going to be a lot of snow here for, Vancouver, all the way down into Idaho, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, California. Your strongest waves, they're going to kind of weaken as they move onshore. So your best snow is going to be really in the northwestern United States, especially Idaho here, where you could have 2, 3, 4 feet of snow in some areas. Now, you can actually see that second wave that moves through along that cold front in the southeastern United States through the mid-Atlantic region could deliver an inch or so in this area. I'm forecasting less than an inch for most areas along this area. But where banding can develop, there's going to be isolated banding with these types of events near and behind the front, and where you can get transitions to happen a little bit sooner. You're going to have a little area that somewhere in there that picks up 1 to 4 inches. So that'll be definitely fun to watch. And then the western parts of the Carolinas here, this is going to change, so I would not get too excited about this yet if you're a snow lover, but 6 to 12 inches, that's going to change quite a bit. We're not surprised if the next run comes out at 0 inches. So ice is definitely possible for this region, so that's going to cut the snowfall a bit. But nonetheless, the signal is there for some snow this week as we head towards later in the week. Like I said, it's going to be favoring more of a rain and ice event, but it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot to change the snow, just a couple of degrees. And, that 540 line being a little bit farther south as well. So that's going to be the snowfall. Then we'll look at the upper levels. Really, for the most part, this first storm is just weak and open. As you can see, Monday here, this is an open wave. It's very fast moving. It's weak. This isn't going to change a whole lot. The thing that could change here is this storm later in the week. You can see this piece of energy comes out Thursday into southern parts of the U.S. and moves into The Carolinas, and you can see this energy right here. It's a little tiny thing, but it's a very potent, powerful piece of energy, just very small though. So that's going to be very finicky on the models, nebulous, and it's going to flip-flop a lot. So I suspect the models will change quite a bit, more than any other storm we've had this year for the East Coast. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. But this main wave comes out around Saturday into Sunday and moves into the East Coast of the United States. But this is a very strange looking upper level type of wave. Very nice, very nice streak of vorticity there. So very impressive lift. It's actually an open wave, which is interesting, but that vorticity is very strong here. So even though it's open, you're going to have a decent storm system somewhere in the northeastern United States, particularly the farther north you go. But this is going to change a lot just because of how nebulous this is. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Click the subscribe button below if you like these videos. Again, this is kind of a test run with these daily walkthrough videos that, day by day. I think we'll do more of these in the future. Comment below if you have any suggestions in the comments. Click that thumbs up button. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you soon.